Football without fans, isn't it? You play a football match without fans, isn't it? It can be the greatest game in the world. If there are no people there to watch it, it becomes nothing.
Into Johnston. Johnson. And a goal by Johnston. Larson. Oh, he's in! Henrik Larsson! That is sensational! Nakamura! He has done it! Isn't that just typical?
The game is over. The Rebels have won. Champions, that's who we are.
Yes, Thunderbirds, here we fucking go. Jungle Jim's back in the house. How yous all doing? Today is Tuesday, the 8th of November. Another Jungle Jim's Tuesday TikTok. Hope everybody is doing well, each and every one of yous. It seems like it's been a while, but probably only a week. Paddy and James in the house. James, is that Liverpool that you've got on, aye?
That is indeed, mate, aye.
Cool, very good. James, how you doing, mate?
No great, to be honest, mate. Went out of my bed at 5 o'clock after work, but...
That fucking sounds perfect, mate. What are you wondering about?
Limps it out my tits, man.
Well, I'm glad that you've recovered like Lazarus anyway to make the Jungle Gyms. And Paddy, how's yourself?
Aye, okay, mate. Obviously, I made a wee bit of balls of the setup and that again, but we managed to get it sorted. And of course, we had a bit of echo problems last week. And as you quite rightly pointed out, who would have thought that pressing echo cancellation would have sorted that? Aye, so we're all good. Technical shite, but it's not done.
Aye, how many podcasters does it take to make a podcast? Something like that. And McGinty is doing in the mainland, rampaging about. I hope he's doing well. He'll be back on whenever he can. Aye, so again, to the viewers, thanks very much for jumping on. Hope you're all doing well. Get your comments coming in. We want to hear from the usual crowd. And of course, anyone that's new to the podcast, if you've not done so already, then please subscribe. And of course, hit that like button. So Tuesday night, I guess there's not much. Is there any Scottish football on tonight? Aye, there is. Hibs
there's
and
2 games,
playing. Pardon me?
Aye, there's 2 games on the night, aye.
2 games, you are right. The High Bees and Ross County, and of course, Livingston and Aberdeen. Yeah, totally random one. I was thinking about it. You know, Hibs and Celtic do have kind of similar origin stories. Derived from like Irish immigrants and stuff like that, and with the Catholic connection. Why do we have 2 well-known clubs up in Scotland? But I was thinking about it down in England. Because there's plenty of Irish immigrants who went over to England, like specifically a lot in Liverpool. I was just wondering, I think I was thinking about this a fortnight ago, but it just came in my mind there. Why is there no Celtic or High Bees equivalents in England? Can you take a stab at that? It's not a test. I was just...
It's how you come from.
If you think about the immigration, over the Irish Sea, why is there no kind of equivalent club? Maybe there was once upon a time, but they kind of, as football clubs do, they rise and fall, you had big teams back in the day and they've died, but, I can't really remember. But if you think about history and stuff like that, if there was any clubs of that ilk, of that background...
Pretty good question. I would imagine it because you're kind of in the heart of kind of the Britain, if you want to call it that. Well, aye, that is called that. You're in the heart of Britain. England, it's probably, I'm just surmising here, it might have been harder to kind of have your identity. You would probably have more pressure on you to kind of assimilate into that kind of society, whereas up here, we were fortunate enough that we had characters and individuals who were strong enough in their beliefs, to go ahead and create an institute, which happened to be Celtic, in Glasgow. And obviously, as you say, there was Hibs, Dundee United as well. Let's not forget that. But very good question, mate. I'm not too sure, to be honest with you, but that's my kind of first thoughts that you've just kind of flung a question at me first thing.
Well, I'm glad, sometimes I just like random thoughts come into the head, and sometimes they sound ridiculous. That one sounded quite poignant, but maybe we'll have a wee bit of feedback. For Palman, thank God that Celtic is Catholic. We're also Catholic in Limburg, Roman Catholic, to be more clear. And of course, the one thing that I really do take pride in with Celtic is, although it was at one point for Catholics, it is a club for all. So whether you're Catholic or not, Protestant, Muslim, Jewish, Buddhist, Hindu, you name it, everyone is welcome at Celtic. So it's very much an all-inclusive club. I would love to stress that. Again, what have we got to talk about? What have we got to talk about?
I have to ask this question for Andy, the Baldy Trucker. Andy, I'll ask this to you, mate. Do you think that Paul Scholes is a Catholic?
You're asking Andy?
Aye. Mate, it's a private joke, mate. He asked me to put Paul Scholes. He asked me to mention his name at some point randomly, so I've just flung it out there for Andy. It's a private joke. He'll get it.
James, I'm feeling a wee bit left out here. Private jokes, man. Don't know about you, but
that's kind of the epitome of a private joke.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll go on with the all-inclusive podcast for everyone else. So, Celtic and Dundee United 4-2 finished at the weekend, and of course, we were put through our paces once again. It looked a bit of a lethargic performance. However, whenever we thought everybody, the referee, VAR, fate was conspiring against us, again, we pulled it out at the very end. 2 goals at the death to make it 4-2. Put a bit of gloss on the scoreline, but it wasn't like that at all. James, were you at the game?
I was, mate.
What was the reporter's comments on the game?
I don't know. The first half, I don't think we were particularly good, but at the same time, we weren't bad. We were just kind of average. 2-1 up. The second half, even when it was 2-1, Dundee United were still time wasting. Their goalie's an absolute diddy, just terrible. Carried on for that Alkmaar game, but he was time wasting with the goal kicks, carrying on with the ball boys and all that. And I actually says to the guy sitting beside me for the second half, they'll do this to 75-80 minutes, and then we'll fling on another striker and go for broke. And it just felt as if instead of us kicking on and finishing the game, we just kind of regressed back to Dundee United's level. They get the goal, and then obviously we kicked on again. But that's the way to win a game, innit? But I don't know if the old ticker can hold many more like that.
Very true. Well, you're younger than us anyway, so you certainly stand in better stead than what we and Paddy do. I've got to hand it to you. You actually called it at the start. You said Haksabanovic hat-trick. Now, the odds on that, I've got no idea. But even if you said 2 goals for Haksabanovic, because he hadn't broke his duck by that point, what made you? What compelled you to say a hat-trick for Haksabanovic? And how were you right? What do you know that we don't?
He's just done everything bar score, hadn't he? That was all it was left for him today. I'm glad, as I said, I was saying, I actually think it was McGinty that said he'd get a hat-trick. To be fair, I said he'd break his duck, and McGinty said he'd get a hat-trick. So I was right, McGinty was wrong in that sense. But no, he'd done everything bar score. He's been playing out his skin, and as I say, we've done everything bar score, so he was due 1 or 2.
By the way, it's a really interesting phrase, isn't it? Playing out his skin. You just imagine like a skeleton running about.
Well, Halloween, wasn't it? Near enough.
You do wonder where it came from. All these kind of strange phrases like I can't think any.
Cam is a Hindu cow.
Aye, look, bite the bullet. You know that one, bite the bullet. Where did that come from? I'm sure if we googled it right now, we'd probably find out. But playing out your skin, that sounds like not a sport that I want to be involved in. You know,
the worst one for me is scoring goals for fun. What does that mean? Scoring goals for fun. Hate it.
Do you know what my most hated phrase is of all time? And it's not necessarily football related, but at the end of the day, I fucking hate it.
And I was watching it a game, and it was an English commentator. I must have been fucking like Michael Owen or something. And he said, they definitely don't want to lose another goal. Like, as opposed to when you do want to lose goals. I know.
Mate, listen, you can go into Google, and there's a plethora of Michael Owen quotes that are absolutely ridiculous. Like, mind-blowingly idiotic. You know, stuff like, if they'd have scored a goal, they'd have won the game. Really, Michael?
Paddy, back to Haksabanovic. How do you think he's coming on so far?
Marvellous, absolutely marvellous. He's one of my favourite players, isn't he? Again, I said it last night on the Celtic supporters podcast. Oh, by the way, while I'm at it, while there's a good few watching, tonight at 8:30, Dale and the Celtic supporters podcast will be live on YouTube and interviewing ex-Celtic player Paul Byrne. A lot of people that grew up in the 90s will remember him. So if you're not doing anything tonight, 8:30, jump on, give the guys a watch, and should be good. But no, mate, Haksabanovic has been top class since he came in. I think he's showed a really good attitude. You know, he wants to get on the ball. He wants to make things happen. He's got an aura about him in the sense of like he's got that bravado that you kind of need as a winger. You know, he's got that swagger. He's got the neck tattoo. He looks as if he's confident, which is he looks like a fucking absolute belly, mate. But you know, but in all seriousness, he's got that kind of that confidence that you need as a winger, because as you know, if you're a winger and things aren't going for you, you need to keep the head up, chin up, socks up, and get on with it, and still continue to try and make things count. So he really has done that since he's come in, and he's starting to shine, and it's came at a good time because obviously we were without Jota there for a bit, so he's come in and stepped in and plays a Jota, and he's been the creator in the team, or one of the main creators, I'll say, because there has been a lot of creators, but he's definitely improved the squad, certainly.
Mm-hmm. And of course, VAR, it just had to insert itself as the main protagonist in this game, and it's not the first time. I think we're going to be talking about VAR frequently, predominantly throughout the season. So VAR, of course, gave a penalty to Dundee United, and it was Bernabei. I'm sure we've all seen it by now. Bernabei jumps up to head the ball away, and in the motion of heading the ball away, he raises his right arm in the opposite direction. So of course, for me it's natural. Now I think if I'm paraphrasing the rules, it says if you enlarge your body position unnatural in terms of the movement that you're performing. And if the ball hits your arm at that point, it will be a penalty. But I think most people, unless they have an agenda, would contend that it was a very natural motion. He's in the air, he's twisting his head that way. Therefore, his arm is going to go out like that to give him the kind of the progress or whatever. And of course, the referee is called over to VAR, and not only did they give the penalty, but they book him as well. And we saw, was it Jota get booked in the Bernabeu as well? I don't get it. It's painfully obvious that they didn't mean it. If you're going to pervert the rules by giving a penalty, why would you also apply a yellow card as well? Because that carries with it intention, but there was no intention at all. James, I'm flummoxed at VAR right now, but we're going to keep talking about it. What was it like in the stadium at that point? Had you had any inclination as to what was going on, or did you only find out afterwards?
No, not a clue, because obviously when the ball goes in for the free kick, the ball, it wasn't as if like he could do it for a goal kick or a shy. The ball stayed in play for a good few kind of seconds at least anyway. It wasn't just like cleared. And then when it went to the check, you see him putting his finger to his ear, and it comes up on the big screens, to be fair. It's checking a possible penalty or possible handball penalty, something like that. But then again, as you say, we're just going to keep repeating the same things. What was it, 5 minutes that got added on in the first half? See, as soon as he steps off that park and he does his wee screen and he runs there, you know he isn't going to stand by his decision. You know it's a penalty. So can we just stop this whole charade that there's ever going to be a chance that he sticks by his decision? Because that obviously Ange said it as well. It's just killing the game. I mean, that's 5 minutes in the first half it's been added on, and it's never a penalty. If he's done that intentionally, he should be in the circus. He's no looking at the ball. He's got his back to it. No idea what's going on. Not one of the United players claimed for it. And then you get into the set, or was it still the first half actually? The Giakoumakis one. Now, I'm not saying I'm saying it's a red card, but it's probably just on the cusp. But the thing for me with that one, he didn't even give a foul. He let the ball go out for a shy. So when he's got the guy in his ear saying, "Oh, hold on, potential red card here," he can't go back and say, "All right, it's a red card." See if that was a red card. This is probably a stupid, daft question. How does the game restart? Does it restart with a bounce ball? Does it restart with a shy, or would we get a free kick because it's a red card?
It's a good point, that. Haven't a clue.
No, it was because I asked that at the time because the ball comes out for a shy, and then that's when the check gets completed. And obviously the still pictures don't look great, but it probably is just on the cusp. I'd probably say it was a red card. Maybe one of the ones, if it's against you, you'd say yellow. But the standard of refereeing is terrible to not even give that as a foul.
Aye. There's a lot of questions. Paddy, that incident on Giakoumakis, for me, it looked like the guy, pardon the phrase, pulled out a little bit. The impact didn't look as bad if you were to see it on a still frame. But overall, a lot of contentious decisions. What was your thoughts?
Confusion at first because, as James rightly says, there was no foul given, and then the next minute there was a VR check for a red card. So you're like, look, what's happening here? And then you go back and you look at the replays, and the guy's foot is literally in front of Giakoumakis' face. There's plenty of still photographs doing the rounds, and his foot's like that. His studs are pointing towards Giakoumakis' face, and just at the last second, his foot drops down, and it literally rakes down his thigh. So studs up at heat tight. It's preposterous, mate. It's absolutely shocking. I get the fact if you've gone by the rules that the referee can't then go back and even book him, because I don't think that the referee can award a retrospective yellow card if he's missed the incident. But then I don't know, mate. It's starting to really become Mickey Mouse stuff, and this is the whole point that I was on about VAR. The reason why I was happy to see it coming in, because it would have done two things. It would have raised awareness of how bad the referees are, and of course,
I'm sorry, Pad. I'm not laughing at you. Just a belter of a comment for Kieran there.
What was that?
Pulled out and got George's Giakoumakis on the chest. Keep it PG, please. That's comment of the night so far.
Okay, terrible. I wish somebody would fucking jizz in one of the referees' faces, man, because they just need to go away. But you look at these instances, it's a shocking decision. First and foremost for the referee to miss that, and then for all that time for it to be a decision to be made, and then for the referee to go to the monitor, blah 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 blah. But for me, mate, the Bernabeu one was just fucking totally abysmal. As you say, it's up there. It's up there with the worst refereeing decision that I've seen since Willie Collum, who years ago gave a penalty against Daniel Majstorovic at Ibrox when he had his back turned to the incident. He turns round, can't mind who it was, whatever Rangers player it was, is on the deck, and he looks at it and goes, "Oh, penalty." Was it a penalty? I think it was a penalty. Sent him off, and he didn't even look at it. So again, the referee in that instance used his opinion, and I think at this point and all, they've used their opinions, because Bernabeu has got his back to the action. He's jumped up. You need to use your arms for leverage, regardless, to jump up. You can't jump up like a fucking one of the a buoy in the water. You can't jump up like that. So he's jumped up like that. The ball's bent behind him. The guy's headed it, and it's hit the back of his ear. How can, as you say, mate, quite rightfully, how can that be intentional when he's not even looking at the ball? It's impossible. It is impossible. And then to go and book him, it's fucking ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous. And somebody mentioned last night, it might have actually been Kevin. How you doing, mate? It's quite telling that these decisions are starting to take so long, because it's almost as if, right, and this is me putting my tinfoil hat on, as some might say, and as Kevin said last night, I totally agree with him. It's as if the referee or the VAR guys are calling a decision, and they're spending a lot of time trying to decipher something to come out and say, right, oh, that's the reason, right, we'll get them for that. It's fucking shocking, mate. It's bamboozling, it's perplexing, and it's gazumping, if that's a word. It's fucking shocking.
Just to jump in there, mate, sorry. See, I was saying this on the bus. See, with this VAR, see if they're going to have it. I know it's going to be a thing. It's going to be here for good. I think there's two things, well, probably 100 things they could do better, but two things I think would make a massive difference. See when the referee goes to the screen, see if he looks at it for, I don't know, say there's 4 or 5 camera angles or whatever. Watch it once for each angle in real speed. Don't slow it down. Everything looks worse slowed down. Once for each angle. If he thinks it's a penalty, penalty. See if he watches it 5 times and needs to watch it another 5 times. That for me isn't a clear and obvious error. So, you know what I mean? And then the second thing I would do, see like they do in rugby when they've got the video referee and you can hear them talking to each other.
Yes.
See if that instantly, like everything you've said there, that kind of dispels that. Do you know what I mean? Like the kind of paranoia, so to speak. But I don't even think it's just a Celtic. I mean, you've seen it with Tony.
No, it's not. It's not.
But Tony Watt, don't get me wrong, I never seen Sports Scene last week to actually see the foul. But the referees gave him a red card. VR must have obviously approved it, essentially. So that's 2 referees that are gave the wrong decision. It then goes to an appeal and he wins it. How? It's just no right. It's no doing what it's supposed to. And as I say, the one thing, the 2 things, I think these 2 things make a massive difference, but it's not going to happen.
Well, I think we all can agree that there is a new sheriff in town, and that sheriff is VAR, and it's here to make its presence known for the rest of the season. All jokes aside, man, it could be the biggest opponent that we've got this season, because the rules are not clearly being implemented, you know, and all these decisions, they're all subjective anyway. There's no way to predict what fate has got in store for us for the next game and the following game after that. All we can do, going back to what Jockstein said, is, you know, just fucking beat them, score as many goals as possible. VAR count, all 7 checks have gone against Celtic, 2 offside calls at Hearts, 3 penalty calls at Hearts, 1 penalty Dundee United, 1 red card Dundee United.
To be fair, they checked Abada's goal for offside as well, and that get gave. So that's the one that went for us. Know that it matters. It's gone 4-2 up in the fucking 95th minute or whatever.
So do you know? Think this is the correct time to be calling out these decisions when you're winning, because when you're winning, it can't be seeming, it can't come across like you're a sole loser. You know, the VAR's went against you and you've lost the game, because you're still highlighting incidents when you've won the game. So it's not as if it's going to, it's not as if it's like it could potentially benefit you getting the result changed around, because you've won the game, but you're still in a position where you're saying, come on, this is absolute nonsense.
I see that point of view. Like I've heard on phone-ins, you know, like sometimes you wonder why you actually listen to them. Like Celtic fans phoning in on a day of victory, and they say, I want to talk about the officials' decisions. And then you get the inevitable, the predictable people saying, oh, that's all you've got to say. Your team just won 5-0 and you want to criticise the referee. Mm-hmm. So there's no way that you can win. Of course, we can complain about it as a club, as a manager in the post-match interview when we've won, and you know, call a spade. But at the same time, what if you're a team at the bottom of the league and you've got a lot of decisions going against you? You know, if you take that policy, then you're never going to speak up at all. I think, we should always speak up, regardless of the outcome of the game. We should always speak up, and don't give a fuck what the media say. You know, we all know how the media likes to spin things anyway, and you know, parody our club at times. But you know, if we stick together and call a spade, as I said, then at least we're going in one direction. And of course, as we're seeing now, Ange, who used to keep his cards very, very close to the chest, is now, as of the Hearts game, whenever we won 4-3, now we're starting to see, I wouldn't say cracks, definitely not cracks, but we're beginning to see the length of his patience with this far. He's watched it in other leagues. I don't know if they were doing it in Japan. They probably were doing it in Japan. But he's now seen it in Scotland. He's seen the mistakes, and he's witnessed, and we have witnessed other leagues implement it, and they've taken years and years and years, and gradually they're getting better and better. They're nowhere near perfect, but it looks like we are doomed to repeat the same mistakes that we've witnessed other countries doing, and that is fucking painstaking. It's going to be a long time before we're up to the same level as other people, and of course, our referees in general are not up to the same standards as our counterparts in England, for example. So we're going to be talking about it a lot. Moving on from VAR. I wanted to ask you, do you think it's the 5-substitution rule is a big feature in our game? Do you think it impacts our in-game management a lot? I think whenever we look at results, there's a bit of a perception that we've had a lot of last-minute winners. And I actually looked at it, apart from the game at the weekend there, we've only had 2 other games this season domestically where we've scored a winner in the last 10 minutes. And that was St Johnstone, a 2-1 game in October, with Jackie Mackey scored in the 95th minute, and Ross County back in August, where we won 3-1, and we scored back in the 84th minute and the 91st minute. So I was wondering how important the 5-sub rule is for Ange in terms of changing things. Paddy, what do you make of that?
Mate, I think it's a good introduction. It allows you to utilise your squad better. Lets players get the opportunity to possibly come on, where obviously they wouldn't have if it was only 3 subs. But I think Ange is using it to suit his system, because a lot of the times he's bringing on maybe generally 2 and 3 subs at kind of the hour mark, and he's bringing on the kind of fresh legs guys. I like it.
James, there's been a lot of games where I've witnessed, sorry to pick on them, but Maida on one flank, Abada on the right, and for a full hour they've done hee-haw, and then we bring on whoever, Haxa and Jimmy Forrest, and then we perk up a bit, we become more dynamic down the flanks. Maybe if there was still only the 3-sub rule in Scotland, then we might not have that luxury, and we might have to focus on other areas, or still keep like a card in the deck just in case someone gets injured late on. Do you think that's become a big feature of our game, and it shows the strength and depth that we've got, that we can employ these fresh guys?
Aye, definitely. As Paddy says about the Mac, regardless if it's win, lose or draw, we seem to make the 3 subs, and then if it doesn't really turn in our favour, we'll make the other couple. Like obviously, as you've seen with Kyogo and that at the weekend there, and it normally does change the game. But as we were saying the other day, like Taylor and Bernabei and all that, obviously Taylor's playing out his skin, but you can't draft him now. But aye, the 5 subs, it just keeps the squad happy as well. And obviously, as you say, if you're chasing a game or whatever, then it gives you the option to get the big hitters on if they've been rested.
Good point. Right, guys, let's get to it. The implosion at Ibrox. This is comedy gold. We're only in November, and they are calling for their manager to be sacked. That narrative has been going on for a few weeks now, but of course they drop points. They get beat in Perth by St Johnstone, and it was lovely. It was delightful. It was delicious. So, Paddy, we're 7 points ahead. I think we're 16 goals to the better, and everything is rosy in the camp at Celtic. We've won our last 5 games anyway. So after that dismal performance in Paisley against St Mirren, we've really cracked on. Whereas the Rotten Mob are imploding. How good is that for us? Giovanni staying or Giovanni leaving? What would you prefer?
Oh, Gio must stay forever. They seem to just be, as you say, I think it's the most appropriate word there, imploding, and it's a very joyous thing to watch, because obviously they're our strongest opposition. But again, like it just shows the importance of what we're doing, because we are 7 points ahead. I know it's not a great huge gap, but it's a decent gap at this stage in the season. We've got to that position ourselves. You know, they're 7 points behind us because of them. So again, there's a wee gulf happening there. There's a gap, mind the gap, because it's only going to get bigger. So hopefully, you know, just before we go into the World Cup, we obviously go to Motherwell tomorrow night. Again, first and foremost, hope we get the win. And hopefully Hearts can do something, because I think if we go into the World Cup and that gap widens even more, then by the time that we go there, we don't have a lot of folk going to the World Cup, I don't think. So we're going to Australia. We're going to Angie's homecoming party. We're going there in celebration. The guys are going to have the sun. They're going to have time to relax, recover, regroup, regenerate their thoughts, look at things, how they get themselves better. You're obviously coming into January, where Ange today, I think it was today, says that the guys have essentially done their business already in terms of January recruitments, which is good. It means everybody's on the ball. We basically get time to relax a wee bit. Obviously, no, in a cocky sense, we can't afford to kind of sit there like Billy Big Boys and just think that we're going to come back after the break and just going to win the league. We obviously still need to be focused, professional, blah, blah, blah. We are getting that opportunity to go and relax in Australia, whereas across the gullet, it's kind of fucking arses to the wall kind of stuff now, because the manager's under pressure, the board's under pressure, the whole recruitment teams and everybody upstairs is under pressure. The supporters are turning on the players. The players are turning on the players. The players are turning on the supporters. So as it stands now, it's bedlam. So it's always great to see your nearest rivals turning into a complete utter shambles.
It's good. It's good. However, I am mindful of that phrase, he who lasts the longest. So, James, talking about the Rangers at the moment could crawl into their shell, or what's the other kind of permutations of this season? They could sack Gio and get that bounce back quality with a new manager and become a tough nut to crack. I remember even the Celtic games with him last season, like the Hampden game. Well, they outmuscled us. They got the better of us. You would say that we were the better, technically, the talented team, but that matters hee-haw. It's who wants it more. They beat us in that. They went on to the final, of course, and there was a game at Parkhead where we looked dead on our feet, and Sakala scored an equaliser and it finished 1 each, and I was crestfallen by that. Do you see any danger of that happening again this season, of them creeping back, or do you think the gap is just going to widen?
Oh, I don't know. You're kind of feared to say, and yeah, I think if you watch the two teams, then you can only imagine that it's going to get bigger. But I mean, as Paddy says, it just shows you how big what we're doing is. I mean, you're getting into injury time on Saturday there, and you're sitting thinking, fuck, 2 points. 24 hours later, you're 7 points clear. So the importance of what we're doing is all that matters. Is obviously, as Ange says, we just focus on ourselves. But watching them on Sunday, they'd get for Bristol. Man, it's just get the ball wide, get it into the box. That's it. I mean, is it Lundstrom? It gives it away. I mean, can you imagine somebody on our team done that? They'd literally get dragged after and then. But I don't know. The fear is maybe they get bet on Saturday and then the Martindale Miller dream team comes in and they kick on for theirs. So I don't know.
I think there was an interview where Martindale was referring to himself in the third person.
All right.
His ego obviously knows no bounds.
By the way, the best nickname that I've heard for Martindale quite recently is Jurgen Prop.
Jurgen Prop. Well, he's done very well for himself. You know, he used to be a street pharmaceutical rep, and now he's the manager of Livy, and he could be the manager of the Rotten Mob. So I don't know if his former occupation was more prestigious than what he might be heading towards anyway. I don't fear that. I don't think the Rotten Mob fans would appreciate his appointment either. But all in all, it does make for comedy gold on our patch anyway. So I guess, James, I think following on from what you say, all we can do is concentrate on ourselves. There's no way that Ange is going to let the players take the eye off the ball. However, The only negative is the World Cup is arguably coming at the worst possible moment, with their form dipping and us simply on the ascension. And Fittipaldi, he's a fucking bellend. He is. Who are we talking about? Standing outside the stadium, waiting for the players to leave, and all the Onion Bears can say is, "Yous didn't come and applaud us." Aye, that was a funny one.
Has the one. Oh, brilliant. Well done.
Aye, it's very, very good. I'm just wary that the comedy is coming too early in the story. Aye. Anyway. There was one other thing, talking about kind of getting ahead of yourself, potential arrogance. McGinty was saying this. Unfortunately, he's not here to defend himself. He was talking about potential exits, James. And he was talking about if ridiculous money came in for, well, we say ridiculous, we throw that word about too often, but if very, very good bids came in for Juranovic, then McGinty said that he would be all for it. He would take the money because Ralston is more than good enough to see out the remainder of the season as Celtic's number one right back. I don't agree with that. I like Ralston, but all sympathy aside, I don't want to put all my eggs in the one basket with Ralston to see out the remainder of the season. For one, by the way, I've watched him play against Kent. Not that Kent does. That's probably a bad example. As I said, I don't want to put all my eggs in the one basket. And I think it'd be arrogant to actually sell one of our key players in January. I think if your sole ambition is to win the league, to ensure the pathway again into the Champions League, then you don't sell your best right back. Only losers do that, and we're not that. That's bad. It's bad guidance. There's no strategy behind that. And same again for Taylor. O'Reilly. Obviously a popular guy right now with the Scouts. 21 years old. He's got his full future ahead of us, ahead of him. Again, if a good bid came in for him, I would not get rid of him in January. I would not sanction a move. And if it happened, I don't think Postecoglou would allow that. So there would have to be disharmony between the board and the manager. I don't think that is even a possibility this season anyway. So what do you think?
I've said on here before, I think specifically Juranovic, I think we're quite guilty of overrating him very much. That being said, I don't think it'd be a massive miss if he was to go. But as you say, I wouldn't like to see anybody leave in January unless it's maybe somebody on loan or kind of a bit part player. But first team players, I'd never like to see MD leave in January. If they're going to go, hold on to the end of the season, and then that gives us a chance maybe to get somebody. And I seen actually the manager said today that basically our January business is already done and dusted for the most part. So like that, hopefully, if you know Juranovic or O'Reilly's leaving in the summer, get somebody in January, get them bedded in, get them up to speed. Juranovic goes and he just walks in and takes his place. That's an ideal scenario. Obviously, if funny money comes in for Juranovic, as you say, well, I suppose that would be the test for the board, wouldn't it? But I think if somebody bid 20 million for Juranovic, personally, I don't think he's worth that. But 20 million coming from him, I think he'll be off.
To the comments for Fordroster and Baldy Trucker about we'll be recruiting in January, so if JJ does leave, we'll get someone in to replace him, and of course everyone is replaceable. I agree everyone is replaceable, but not halfway through a season. You don't buy someone and expect them to hit the ground running. That is overly ambitious. I know that the Japanese boys, they hit the ground running. Well, most of them did. It took Hitati a bit of time to get up to speed. Kyogo, of course, did. Maeda had a good initial start anyway, but I think it's too much a risk. I wouldn't be willing to do that. And I don't think a manager worth the salt would be willing to lose a first choice right back, buy in a guy who looks very good, but on the belief that he's going to hit the ground running. Don't buy that. Paddy, tell me, Jay, disagree or agree?
No, I kind of agree with both these. With it sounds as if I'm sitting on the fence. Like, I think we've built a good nucleus of squad here, and the players all look to be happy. Well, kind of on the face of it anyway. Nobody seems to be sitting there with a fucking shoulders all shrugging and like kind of Julian-esque, desperate to get away. Of course, if anybody comes in with a big bid, then that's a test for the manager, the recruitment staff, the upper echelons of Celtic Park, whatever it's for them to deal with. I don't think we should be getting rid of anybody in January, and I know Juranovic in particular has come in for a lot of criticism recently. He seems to be a lot of it seems to be directed at him for some reason, and I don't quite understand it. He has shown how good a player he can be. I don't think he's shown his best yet at Celtic by any stretch. I think he's a top player. I think the new Ralston is performing better than him, but that doesn't mean to say it's because Juranovic has been shite. Ralston might be playing better because of that competition at right back, because he knows that he has to be better than Juranovic. But again, Ange's already said that there will be squad rotation. So this could be the squad rotation that we're seeing. It doesn't need to be 5 and 6 guys getting rotated at one time. It can be playing Ralston in games where it's more physical, where the pitches are tighter, where he can use his turn of pace, he can use his physicality. You need to get crosses into the pitch. And then he can be playing Juranovic on a bigger, wider pitch where he can use his pace, he can be direct. You know what I mean? This is things that he's doing. And we're seeing it on the other side as well with Bernabeu. Taylor's been getting a couple of games where he's been rested. Bernabeu's come in. So this is just, I think it's just a culmination of things just kind of ticking over nicely. We're looking after players. No, I wouldn't like to see Juranovic leaving. But if he does leave, again, really a conversation I'm enjoying, talking about players leaving, I do think he's worth what's been quoted, simply because of the length of time that we've got him on contract. He's a Croatian internationalist. He's a very, very good player. We shouldn't be dropping our drawers and fucking getting shafted anymore for our players. We should be selling them for top dollar. But again, that's what it is. But it's good to know that Ange is positively talking about the recruitment setup. He specifically mentioned Mark Lawwell. I think the quote was that the guys have already done their business for January, although they'll keep themselves aware up to the very last minute. But Mark Lawwell is the guy that's dealing with it, and Ange will come in at the tail end to basically decide whether the guys that's being recommended are the ones that he wants or the ones for him. So absolutely fantastic to hear that there's some kind of positive communications between everybody. Ange is bringing in the whole system. He's bringing in a recruitment team. Everybody's singing off the same hymn sheet. So again, this is all positive feedback that we're actually getting. Sometimes that we don't generally hear. As Celtic fans, we don't hear what's going on in the background, and for the manager to be upfront and telling us about that, I think it's fantastic, to be honest with you.
Paddy, before we talk on incomings, your mate McCarthy, he's out injured. Now, there was rumours that there may have been a potential suitor for him in January, but it appears that he may have a long-term hamstring injury, which we're all disappointed in. So it means that he might not be sold at the market. He might be with us until at least the end of the season, at least before he can prove his fitness again. So I guess I don't need your comments on that one. I guess all parties are disappointed, yes?
Yeah, of course, mate. He's a Celtic player otherwise. See any Celtic players getting injured? I know he's not had a run in the team. I thought he would have come into the club and been a solid player for us. I think my opinion is that he's not getting a game because he's not as quick and as sharp as what Ange wants his midfielders to be, but he's certainly there to be selected. He's not put a foot wrong anytime he's come into the team. I don't care what anybody says. I think he's been fine. He's no set the header alight. He's not been the most exciting player, but he's done what he's had to do. There's again talk for Ange being kind of open and upfront. He's been talking about guys like Greg Taylor. How much the influence has been welcome in the dressing room and the changing rooms and the club as a general. And McCarthy's been one of the guys that he's mentioned as well. Jimmy Forrest, I know, got a 4-year deal. So these guys are all here, and as much as it's probably know everybody's ideal scenario, that they're no doing it on the pitch, but they're certainly doing it in the club. And we've got a lot of guys who are younger and inexperienced to some degree. And I think it's good that we've got guys like McCarthy there. Again, a lot of people are kind of maybe going in for McCarthy personally because he's on a 4-year contract. But again, we talk about players and we talk about, you know, the kind of scenario where players are not loyal and you expect them to stay for the length of their contract. Well, it goes the other way as well. If a club offers you a 4-year contract, then really you should be looking at the club to be loyal towards the contract as well. You know what I mean? Give the guy time. He'll come in and he'll do his bit and he'll be part of success at Celtic Park. He has been so far, and I hope it continues. But he's out for 4 months, which is a shame. So, aye. Hope he recovers well.
It's a right shame.
You bastard.
Right, James. There was an interview that Ange did which caught my attention. He was talking about the transfer strategy needed for success. So just a kind of key few snippets I'll read out to you. Mark Lawwell's, this is not obviously Red Scott. Mark Lawwell's involvement interests me. I think his role at Celtic will prove decisive in the non-playing side of things. His City Group links are going to really pay off, I reckon, transfer-wise. Time will tell. I think we're all quite optimistic about Mark Lawwell. Obviously, he came in with that stigma of being, you know, the sins of the father sort of thing. But time will tell. Time will tell. And we're going through a good period right now. And for Kaiser, I wish McCarthy was a player he was in the Premiership. He's well rested. That's a positive. Yeah. Aye. So, James, again, on to the snippets for Postecoglou's interview talking about the transfer activity. He said that Celtic need to be aggressive and agile in the transfer market. That kind of caught my interest, the word agile, to be competitive in the Champions League. He said, clubs our size are very agile. That he said this at the AGM. Every couple of years, they need to regenerate. We need to push forward aggressively in the next 2 to 3 years. And moving on, my aim is to keep improving, never stand still. My ambition is to make us a Champions League club. Hopefully, as our players progress and as players leave, hopefully we can bring in others and improve. I think bridging the gap between us and the elite in Europe is one we need to keep chipping away. We need to make gains by being aggressive and agile in the transfer market. And finally, I make the football vision clear and try to fit the business model around that. We need to maximise the greatest amount of revenue into the club. As a Celtic fan, how do you read that? Is that just playing to the public gallery, or do you think there's something more to it? If you're reading between the lines, is that almost a dig at the board to say you need to support me? If you don't match my ambitions, then that might be the reason that we eventually part ways.
I think it's a kind of thinly veiled dig. I mean, more so kind of before Andrew's here, even Lennon and before Lennon. I mean, how many times did we go into a transfer window and at the start of January it'd be linked to a player, and then at the end of January it would still be linked to the same player, but it'd go elsewhere? It happened all the time. Since Andrew's come in, it's like linked with him, he's in the door. Say like Kyogo, I think we just woke up in the morning and Kyogo was in the building. Nobody knew he was linked, nobody knew him or anything like that. So I think that's what it'll be, obviously hoping for Mary the same. And then when he's talking about progression, hopefully he's here for that length of time. He doesn't get poached through down south. But if he keeps bringing in Champions League money, keeps winning trophies, bringing player sales in, like we're saying, if Juranovic goes, he'll be looking to replace him with better and then kick his own to the next level. He'll see us becoming, obviously, as he said, becoming a Champions League level. And see, to be honest, there really isn't any reason why we can't punch above our weight. I mean, you look at like Club Brugge, like Benfica, obviously have got more money and all that, but it's teams like, if we go to him in our group, Shakhtar, if you go to him in our group, you'd fancy your chances. So, aye, fuck it, go for it. Why not?
Paddy, so what Postecoglou said in that interview, like, can we take it for granted that we should be a Champions League club? But as James alluded to, that involves punching above your weight. Punching above your weight over a consistent period of time is very, very tough. That doesn't sound sustainable. So I guess we need to get the model in place to make that sustainable, that we're no longer punching above our weight, but we're putting in the effort and we're reaping the rewards. Can we become a Champions League club year in, year out? And of course, We saw it whenever Brendan Rodgers left. He ripped out the furniture, all that infrastructure that we put in place for those few years with him. He took it out. We need to prevent that as well. So everybody needs to be working in the same hymn sheet. It sounds great. It sounds fucking brilliant to the fans, but how realistic is that?
It's very realistic, because all you need to do is make sure that you're investing in your squad and make sure that your squad is capable of representing the representing the club and represent the country as well at that level. Now, you know quite well that you're not going to go and win the tournament, right? That's fucking pie in the sky stuff. That's pipe dream stuff. But our aim should be to get out of the group stages. But first and foremost, our aim should be there to be a Champions League club year in, year out, where possible. Now, Brendan Rodgers came into a wave of admiration, adulation. His first season, he was backed, heavily backed, got to the Champions League, performed well in the Champions League. If you remember, the first game was against Man City. Pep Guardiola's Man City. They had to equalise us against they had to equalise against us 3 times. We performed well. But then typical Celtic came into play and we regressed. He wasn't backed. And to be fair, as much as I've slagged Brendan Rodgers and slated him for his attitude and his fucking Mr. If I was chocolate, I'd eat myself kind of thing. He wasn't backed, you know. He tried to build a better team. He had guys like Castagna, the French guy who's at Southampton now. I can't remember his name, the left back, Perraud or something.
There was a guy who's really signed for Leicester. I think it was James Justin or something. He signed for
James Justin. That was the kind of guys that he wanted to bring in, and he ended up with like Marvin Comper, Jack Henry, Izagiri, I think.
Replace Kieran Tierney with Greg Taylor. Shocker.
And Bolo. Well, to be fair, we spent £6 million on 2 players for left back, so that was putting out. I think that was under Lennon, wasn't it? Was it? That was Lennon.
So,
yeah. But the whole board were culpable of mismanagement again, because what happens is if you don't bring in quality into your club, this is what can happen. You can win the Champions League twice, and then you're not in it for 5 years. So you lose that kind of continuity, you lose the money that it brings in, you lose the revenue, you lose the kind of experience that your players get for playing in the Champions League football, and then they don't want to play for your club because you're not going to get any better than trying to get into the Conference League or the Europa League or what be it. But this is the time where Celtic can reinvent themselves, and I believe it's happening. I honestly believe it. I can feel it in my push that ever since Daddy Lowell left, and he got his, well, I say left, you know, he's in the background still working away, but as soon as he officially got his claws off of the kind of the director of football role that he had handed himself, the reins were given a wee bit. Eddie Howe was supposed to come in. We all know how that ended up. Ange came in, and Ange I think everybody at the club is 100% behind Ange. And it's only getting more so now that he's getting his own guys in. I think Michael Nicholson has been a revelation so far on paper, the way it seems. And I think if you look at everything that's happening, we've got a guy in place now, right? So we never backed Brendan Rodgers, and we gave him a 4-year deal. I think a 3 or 4 year deal, and never backed him. We've got a guy in charge now who's on a rolling contract, right? And we are allowing him to make wide-scale changes at the club. We're basically, not just him, but this guy is at the forefront, revitalising and revolutionising the club. And I think, honestly, that Big Ange will be getting a contract very, very soon, whether it's after Australia or after December. But I think you'll be seeing Big Ange getting a 3-year deal that takes him up to he's about 60-year-old. And I think this will be the revolution. The age of Ange that comes at Celtic, and he's going to build himself a mini dynasty, and the powers that be are all on board, and they realise what we've lost out on the last few years. We've not had Champions League, and now we've got it this year. We've had it, we've been there, we've not performed the best, but we've had a go. It's been a glorious failure, as some might call it, because we've been there, we've got the money, we've seen what we can do, we've seen what we can get, and we've seen what we need to be better at. So next season, definitely, I think, onwards and upwards, and everything else that's happening in the background is fucking so it's positive, mate. It's like I think the club's a great place to be at for a lot of people, and we'll get better.
You think about it, like James. When I think about, like, me and Paddy are the same age, and whenever we think about, like, the 90s were, for the vast part of it, turgid. So if we think about it, like, since Martin and Neil came into the club over the last 2 and a bit decades, the moments that we're enjoying right now, we've had you go, like, peaks and troughs. Where we are right now, it's kind of hard to maybe the peak of Brendan Rodgers' time. You could maybe compare it, but Postecoglou does seem like different gravy. And there was, like, a comment there. If he read Scotland, he was asking how do we think it will end? Forgive me, I can't. He was asking, does anyone else think Ange might be in Glasgow for a few more years? I think yes, but as I asked James in that question from Postecoglou's interview, it's about, as long as our board's ambition aligns with Postecoglou's ambition, as long as they're in alignment, then yeah, he'll stay here. Eventually, he's going to hit a glass ceiling. Everyone does. There are unfortunate limitations having playing in Scotland, with a budget and such. There's only so far you can go, but Ange right now, he's got a long way to go. So yeah, I think we've definitely got a few more years. Palman, boys, thank you for the amusing evening. Thank you very much for reminding people to hit the like button, because we are terrible at it.
Sorry, can I just jump in there? See just what you kind of on that subject. I think pretty much since Seville, I feel as if Celtic, the board, the problem has been we never strengthened from a position of strength. Mm-hmm. This time will tell, obviously, kind of how it plays out, but this does feel different. This doesn't feel what it used to. This does feel different. So fingers crossed that we're proven right. But then by that same token, I wouldn't be surprised if we're sitting here in a couple of years' time saying same old. So time will tell.
Another thing.
He sounded very McGinty-esque there, didn't he, Gav?
Very
ominous.
Aye. And as Paddy was saying, and there was a comment there, Ange is taking a lot of control of the club, and it's healthy, because he's taking us in the right direction. And I wouldn't say that he's dragging us kicking and screaming in the right direction. We're willingly being led. And one of the biggest changes that I witnessed was him getting rid of the was it the B team manager, or was it a guy at Lennoxtown?
Tommy McIntyre.
Yeah, and I'm kind of speculating here, but that guy might have been there for years and years and years, and he might have thought that he had a job for life at Celtic. But same as, like, in my industry where I work in, you need to adapt to change. And whenever a new manager comes in, like Postecoglou, if he's looking at it, the full infrastructure from the ground up, and he sees flaws and he says, I want to go in a different direction, and it needs to be ruthless and cut people out and says, I'm going to bring in one guy, because unfortunately you might be skilled at what you're doing, but that's for another club, it's not for my club. I like those ruthless decisions, because we might not see the benefit of it now, but we might see the benefit of it in 3-5 years' time, Paddy.
I don't know if it's been Ange specifically that's kind of requested to change, but I know that there is going to be a lot of there is a lot of changes happening within the lower teams. Like, everybody's starting to play, or everybody's going to be expected to train the same way, of the same kind of formation, this kind of thing. But no, definitely, I think one of the biggest issues, and not the biggest issues in Lennox last season, but one of the issues was the amount of younger players leaving. To go to pastures new, you lost guys like Liam Morrison, the other boy, to Bayern Munich. Angelini went to England somewhere, I think it was Stoke or something. Ben Dokes, another one who's recently left as well. A lot of these boys were basically told that there was no pathway for the B team or the under 21s into the first team. These are just there. It's not happening. And Brendan Rodgers was the first guy that came in a long time and said it. And I was totally on board with what he says, 100% agree with him, but it didn't happen. He did say that we shouldn't be going and looking for a £10 million player to buy. We should be looking to our academy for the next £10 million player. And that's something that's not happened. And I think when you look at the guys like Tommy McIntyre, who has probably done a great job, there's a stagnation there when everybody kind of has the rule of the roost, you know. And you know what it's like with football. It's all about, what's the word?
Autonomy?
No, it's like, oh God, I had the word in my head. It's like, you know, when you can bring in, like Chris McArthur talks, his boys in the youth team, and there's better players, that kind of thing.
Oh,
that happens. Right, like favouritism is another word for it. It's totally escaped me. But this thing happens a lot in football, you know, and it's kind of closed doors, closed shop. You're at a big, massive club like Celtic. Can he be like that? And I think the guys that's coming in the new and the guys that start to deal with that now are definitely changing that mentality. You're talking about guys like Steve McManus, Dan Ade. They might not be the best coaches in the world. I don't know. But these are guys who have worked at youth level before, at Motherwell specifically, both of them. And they're very well quoted as being highly progressive youth coaches. So this is the kind of thing you want. You just need change sometimes. Nepotism, that's the word. Thank you very, very much, David Quinn. Thank you very much. That's the word, nepotism. There's a lot of nepotism in football at every level, and that needs eradicated for the game. So I think that's that's happened. The club's being reinvented, reinvigorated all across the board, and that's one of the places where it's happening. So it's great to see, and hopefully we can bring in players that strengthen the B team as well, or the under 21s, whatever you got to call it, because these guys need to step up into the first team at some time in the future. We need to find the next stars for our academy.
See, just to touch on that as well, though, do you think that's a wee bit of a double-edged sword? Because, like you're saying, strengthen the B team, but see if we brought in, I mean, like that. His name's just went right in my head. The centre half, Lawal, Boston Lawal.
Yeah.
He was getting rave reviews, and don't get me wrong, I know they're friendlies, but he came in at the start of the season, then it was Boric's testimonial. He was miles off it. Now, that's no a slight on the boy, obviously. Look, it's a step up and everything. But see if we've got somebody playing in the Lowland League, and then he's coming off the bench next week in Pataudry or in Easter Road. I think it's too much a step up. I mean, surely, I know obviously the rules, they can't get promoted and we kind of took what we got kind of thing, but no reserve league kills that. And also, if you've got somebody like Lawal that's getting rave reviews in the B team, I would much rather see him loaned out to a championship team or a lower Premier League team, things like that. So, I don't know, it's a bit of a double-edged sword because they're playing in the B team, they're getting obviously used to how we play in terms of inverted fullbacks, as you say, same formation and tactics and all that. But then, by that same token, I would much rather see him playing at Kilmarnock, St Johnstone or whatever, getting more competitive minutes under it. I say that because the B team's not doing great in the league, but I'd much rather that than see them playing diddies in the Lowland League for the most part. Do you know what I mean?
I know what you're saying, mate, and I think specifically with Lawal, you know, he came from the Watford Academy. He was the Academy Player of the Year or something along the lines of that. Very highly rated. Came into the youth squad for us. Was doing really, really well, and he get quite a wee bit of a bad injury, so he was out for a spell, and then he managed to come into the Celtic team. So he wasn't up to speed, you know, kind of a lot with his fitness and that, but he get given a chance, and he wasn't that great. I get your point. But when you're talking,
sorry, mate. I use it as an
go.
example, but there is others like Owen Moffat. Like he came in, he looked all right for a couple of friendlies, and then he got a couple of competitive games. Didn't look the worst, but he never didn't look great either at the same time. Ben Doak came on in the 3-0 game for the last 10-15 minutes or something. Again, like the game's done, it doesn't really matter. But it doesn't even feel as if there is that progression, as you say, and I think that probably plays a part in it as well. I mean, the prime example would be Ayer, loaned out to Kilmarnock, come back, was absolutely first name in the team sheet for 3 or 4 years or something like that. So I'd rather see more.
Of course, mate. Obviously, if you're playing, listen, we're in the Scottish Premiership, so we need to have our players at the level of being a Scottish Premiership player. Totally get that, and obviously the dream is to find the next Ayer, going to Kilmarnock, developing, getting to that standard where they can get back into Celtic and challenge for a first team place. But I don't know how that works. You know what I mean? It depends on the manager at the other clubs. Do they think that they're good enough to come in and play in their team? it's all kind of subjective. But you look at the league that we're in now. Excuse me. The Lowland League isn't the best. We know the kind of players that we're coming up against, but I think the difference there is instead of these boys playing against boys, they're actually playing against kind of former seasoned professionals, maybe guys that are in their kind of late 30s that are still got a bit about them. So they're playing against kind of older guys who have been there and done that at the top level in Scotland, and they've got that physicality about them. So they're having to play a bit harder. They're having to play against men instead of other kind of wee dudes. That's the good thing I can see about it. But I totally, absolutely agree with you. It's the quality, but I don't know. That comes down to Scottish football as a whole. You know what I mean? The whole fucking system needs to be maybe not as far as fucking ripped apart, started again, but there needs to be a revamp of Scottish football. It's embarrassing, it's shocking, it's archaic, it's no good. Right. So we've obviously got to focus on Celtic, mate. You know what I mean?
Oh, 100%. Sorry, mate. Just reading the comments here. The Strange Love with Doctor. I take that on board, but see, at the same time, the B team's been there for how long now? It's been a few years anyway. There's nobody at all has made the step up. Dane Murray came in at the start of last season basically because he had to. Mm-hmm. Outweigh that, there's been absolutely nobody. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying loan them out to an SPL team and that's as good as gold. I mean, obviously history tells you that it isn't. Ayer's the obvious exception. But I don't know. I think the loan market would be a better move for them than the Lowland League.
Aye, absolutely right. But I think one of the things that's changing at Celtic is that obviously the B team would have been training at Barrowfield. That's kind of dissipated now. Barrowfield's getting revamped. I think that's going to be for the women's team, the even younger kind of youth teams at Celtic. But I think the B team, or the under 21s, whatever they're fucking called now, they're all going to be at Lennoxtown. They're going to be treated as kind of professionals. As I say, they're going to be following the same kind of regimes that the first team do. The formation is going to be the same as the first team, whereby if Angie's playing a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3, there's no point in having your B team playing a 4-4-2 because their players will be used to that system. And then if they get the chance to come into the first team, it's a totally different system. So everybody needs to be on the same page. And obviously they're going to be at Lennoxtown. He's bringing in, I think he's bringing in like 5 players at a time to come in and train with the first team for a week and let them play at that level, you know, and then they'll rotate it with another 5 players. But they boys will also be playing on the pitch beside. So It comes down to a mentality thing. It's like if you're a boy and you're in the B team and you're training on that pitch and the big boys are training on that pitch, you want to look across and say, that's where I want to be. So that then comes down to the player's responsibility to say, I need to raise my level to be playing at that. That's my fucking. Well, that's my aim.
What you've said there, that's literally what my issue would be with it. You're saying you need to raise your level, but how much can you raise your level in the Lowland League? Because for me, the Lowland League to the Premier League, it's too much a gap to bridge. Obviously, Rocco Vata's the one now, and that is it Ben Summers? They're the ones getting rave reviews now. I 100%. I'd like to see them coming off the bench, see what they've got. But again, look, just recent history. Like, who is the last one that's come in and actually made an impact? Like Faye, the academy. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're looking as far back as like Forrest and McGregor. There hasn't been anybody. As I say, you've got spits and spurts where like Murray. There was a guy that came in at striker. His name escapes me.
Johnny Kenny.
But aye. No, sorry, it wasn't. It was him as well. But it was. I want to say it was Boxing Day. He played at Perth last year. I could be talking nonsense, but it was a young boy.
Joey Dawson.
That's the one. Aye. But again, just fall off the face of the earth. They'll come in a couple of games and then disappear again.
Aye, well, that comes down to the double-edged sword, mate, because like you want to see players come through, right? We've not seen it, as you said. There's only 3 names there in the last decade, maybe longer. Jimmy Forrest, Carl McGregor, Kieran Tierney, guys that have come in and actually cemented a place in the team. Before that, Steve McManus, down the day. Ralston, you could include Ralston in that as well. But because obviously the first team, the supporters, Celtic, they all demand success.
Ralston was owned it.
Barry, listen, you're spot on, mate. If they're not getting a game at Celtic, then they go to loan. It's not something that's that's a foreign idea. You know what I mean? Guys like
Aye.
Kenny Dalglish, they were all sent on loan to fucking Cumbernauld Juniors back in the day. Do you know what I mean? So the loan system has always been there for players. They all need to go out and grow as a player before they can come back. But then you get some players who can come straight in.
Step up, 100%.
It just comes through the system, mate, where the guys in the team have got a clear pathway to the first team. Like, maybe no, you're all going to make it, but there's definitely, if you're good enough and you progress enough and you perform enough and you impress enough, you will get a chance. Be that in training, be that on the subs bench, be part of the match day squad, get the experience, fucking be on the bench at the Champions League. This is your level. This is where you want to be. You have got to go and do that.
Aye. No, I agree. There's pros and cons, mate.
I don't know any solution without trying to flesh it out any longer, because you guys have made some really good points. I don't know any solution, but Paddy, you did speak about hitting the reset button. I would rip it all up. You know, we've got a league we've got a split. You know, nobody understands that. Doesn't really happen in many other countries. I would hit the reset button, get rid of that, include more teams, and I would bring back the reserve league. Because there used to be a kind of a pathway, and whenever you are playing with seasoned professionals, but that's eroded, that's gone. So I would bring that back.
Yeah, totally.
Guys, so okay. Tomorrow night we're playing Motherwell away. I don't believe it's on a television. However, just to kind of recap on where Motherwell are right now. Motherwell are 9th in the league. They've won 5 games. They've drawn 1. They've lost 8. And they've got a goal difference of -1. Don't be fooled by that. Their defence is a bit stingy. So we beat them 4-0 in the quarter-final of the Premier Sports Cup. And we also beat them in a narrow 2-1 home win, both in the last month. And of course, that 2-1 home win was when Hatate scored that belter of a goal from outside the box, and when Callum McGregor had to sacrifice himself by getting sent off in one of the last minutes of the game. So we've beaten them 4-0 and 2-1. Tomorrow night then, we're playing away. What are we expecting? Are we expecting to bring the changes from the weekend? Is it another case of, is it Kyogo or Giakoumakis? Jota, I think, will probably start. Do we give Bernabei a rest and get Taylor from the start again? James, what changes do you want to see, and what's the expectations for tomorrow?
I think it'll be comfortable. I think Aaron Moy will come back in, because I think he played his best game at Fir Park.
I know you're a big fan of Moy, aren't you, James?
Love him to bits from. I think Moy will come back in, maybe go Kyogo up front, purely because Giakoumakis was pretty quiet the weekend. Kyogo comes on and scores, and maybe a wee change at left back, but I don't see very many changes apart from that. Paddy,
are we going to witness a mauling tomorrow?
I don't know about a mauling. I'd be more than happy with a victory, of course, but I think the back
How important is it to get 6 points in the next 2 games before this break? It's
massive. Every victory is massive in the run up to the break for the World Cup. I think you need to be strong at the back. So I think that the back line will speak for itself. I think it'll be Taylor will come back in for the start. Hart will start the goals, obviously. I think he'll go with Jens and Carter Vickers. I think Ralston will stay on again. I know somebody earlier on mentioned that Juranovic will play, but I think he will play with Ralston for the reason that I'm going to explain. Motherwell won't be open against Celtic tomorrow. They won't be expansive. They won't kind of try and have a go at us. They'll play tight, compact at the back, which then means that you're going to have like Kyogo up against fucking 3 centre backs potentially. They've got a few big boys at the back who are strong and powerful. Maybe not so great on the ball, but they're big guys like Mugabe dictating at the back. The big boy.
I like it. Mugabe the dictator.
Get that one. Is it Ricky Lamy at the back? Is it big laddie?
Aye.
Big haddies, right? But they're all big solid boys, big fit fellas. I would honestly like to see us play with Giakoumakis and Kyogo tomorrow. Because I think Giakoumakis' power and strength would help to kind of combat 2 and 3 big centre backs. Maybe have Kyogo just playing round about him to feed off him. Because I think, as I say, I think Motherwell will sit back a lot, so that might cause us problems in terms of getting openings. We might be resorted to quite a few long shots tomorrow. So I would be tempted to play Jota for the start, as well as Haksabanovic on the right, with Hatate and O'Reilly in the midfield, and Kyogo and Giakoumakis as the forward players. Because as I say, I don't imagine Motherwell will be playing that high up the pitch. So I think the defence will be able to kind of sit back and just marshal, just be careful, just watch the one guy that they put up front to chase the balls. It allows your full-backs to go and support the midfielders. One midfielder can push up, support the forwards, you know. So it'll be down to us to break them down, I think, tomorrow. So I'm going to go for 3-1.
I echo the comments of everybody who's saying strongest team tomorrow.
Oh, man.
Yeah, okay, so 3-1 Paddy then, yeah?
Yeah.
James?
I'll go 4-0.
Ooh.
And how many goals is Haksabanovic getting this time round?
He'll get his hat-trick this time.
Oh.
We take no chances, go out and do them. 6 points in the next 2 games and the league may be over. All we can do is concentrate on ourselves, you know. Next game is the priority. So, let's get your predictions coming in. Was it Frank Brennan who got the last one perfect? But I don't think he's in tonight.
Aye, got the spot on, didn't he?
So Red Scotland 2-0 to Celtic.
Are we going to be expecting any VAR controversies tomorrow night?
Of course.
Aye, but hopefully whenever VAR rears its head, the game is already done, you know. We're already 3-0 up, 4-0 up. Third row starts 6-0. Loving it.
Frank Kennedy, we will be 7 up at full time.
Right, okay, what am I going to go for? Right.
We're away, Red. We're up at
away. Right. I think we will concede 1, but I think 4-1. 4-1. Me.
4-1.
Pardon me?
Who's your goal scorers?
So the centre forward, whoever that's going to be, Giakoumakis or Kyogo, and I think Maida will score, whether he comes off the bench or starts. I think Maida will score, and Hatate. Yeah. 5 penalties against us in 3 games will cause VAR a problem. Hope VAR gets a fucking virus, man. Wouldn't that be delightful when it just crashes? By the way, Livingston are 2-0 up against Aberdeen.
Oh, you're joking.
Oh, that's that cooking good then.
Fuck's sake.
Olivia playing at home. Tough gig.
That's not very good for Aberdeen. They melty until that. Oh well, maybe if wee Hasbulla keeps playing the way he goes, he could get his move to Ibrox. His dream club.
Very true. Paddy, there was a wee snippet from Graham Souness on TalkSport. I know that.
Mate, do you know something? I was secretly hoping you forgot that because I think I'm going to end up getting into a tirade that I've not really got time for.
Well, if you've not got time for him, that means that the Jungle Gyms don't have time for him. So we can.
No, I was being sarcastic, mate. Sorry, no sarcastic, but let's go for it.
Okay, so it was about James McLean. They were talking about it's poppy season, of course. Now, just to let you know that us at the Jungle Gyms, we don't have a point of view where we're hoping that everybody agrees with us. There's no peer pressure with this. Whether you want to support the poppy or not, because a lot of us have got ancestors from Ireland and from from Britain who may or may not have fought in the war. But I guess the point is just to respect the individual's point of view. But Graham Souness is clearly unable to do that. He's unable to empathise with people from a different heritage. And James McLean is one footballer who's very much epitomised his own heritage and the amount of abuse that he's encountered, him now and his family have encountered playing on these shows for over a decade now. He's arguably taken more abuse than Neil Lennon, which I don't say frivolously. But they were talking about it on TalkSport, about wearing the poppy. And James McLean actually reached out to them. He reached out to Jim White in response to Graham Souness's comments about his decision not to wear the poppy. And let's just see. He said, for my son, who's 7 years old and watches every Wigan game, to be asking his mother, why are they booing and singing that song at Daddy? And to have to tiptoe around answering him is something which should not be happening. This post is not one for sympathy, but one of anger. Considering every single year we have an FA representative come into each club to discuss the same old crap that they spew to us about discrimination. And every single year I challenge them on the abuse that I receive. Every single year they do nothing. This clip is from yesterday, which can be heard clearly of one particular chant as well as other chants of fuck the Pope and the IRA being sung by the majority of the 30,000 crowd, as well as numerous individual chants of Fenian bastard, Fenian cunt, you dirty Irish cunt. And this was displaying a tribute for a game honouring Niall Quinn, who's of the same nationality as myself, and couldn't make the stupidity of that up. Now, everybody who attended the game, who would have heard this loud and clear, included the officials, the referees, and other officials. I should not have to report every single incident when they clearly can all hear that, and they should be doing their job by taking action. So he's clearly highlighting the hypocrisy which has prevailed in the English game or for the British game for a long, long time. And Graham Souness took the view that he said, well, James McLean, he said, we live in a democracy. If he's being booed at a football club or things are being sung about him, that's not nice. What a fucking understatement that is. He continued to say, it's not nice for his wife or for his kid. It is totally wrong that him and his wife and family are being threatened. That's abhorrent. But it will just be keyboard warriors and village idiots. Of course, Graham, of course. But you also have to understand that 10,000 Irish soldiers lost their lives in the Second World War, and I think it's right that we remember them. You know what side of the fence I'm on. I managed a Protestant institution in Glasgow Rangers, and we were royalists. Going back a month, there was a small element of several football grounds up and down the country that rejoiced in the death of our Queen. That's unacceptable. There is nothing that the FA can do about that, but that happened, so James has to go on with it. It's very much his right to choose to go down that road, but I'm afraid this will not go away. It will be an annual thing he has to take on the chin because he's chosen to go down that road. Very, very illuminating comments. He's chosen to go down that road and he will have to take it on the chin. James, don't feel obliged to get involved in this topic. But Paddy, yeah.
What do you say to that? That's, I think Mr. Penis speaks for a vast majority of the poppy fascists that fucking attempt to dictate society. Who can do what? Who can do this? Mate, we're supposed to be in the age of wokeness, you know, where I'm not having a dig at anybody here at all. But you know, you look at the amount of kind of safeguarding kind of provisions that are put in place in society, football clubs and workplaces, you know, for people of ethnic backgrounds, black people, Asian people, whatever kind of race that you're from. You've got the LGBT crowd that are all, they've got a lot of protection, and quite rightly so. You see all the rainbow laces campaigns, this and that, all about keeping racism out of football. But this doesn't transpire towards people of a certain race. And we're talking a race here. The Irish people are a race. Just because they've got the same skin colour as a certain sect doesn't mean to say that they're no different. But it's okay in society to be to have anti-Irish racism in place. That's so apparent and so in your face. It's like back in the 80s, you know, it was acceptable to be racist. There was racial institutional racism in place in lots of certain sectors. This is just now. Do you know what I mean? It's always been there, but this is the thing that's the kind of swept under the carpet thing. As I say, there's a lot of things in place to protect certain people, certain beliefs, religions, their human nature, whatever it is. But James McCarthy is allowed to be abused because of his. It's not just because of his views, right, Graham? His views are his views because that's the truth. The British Empire is one of the biggest scourges of humanity in history, right? They have been part of, if not the biggest, but some of the biggest atrocities in human history. They have killed so many people. They've been part of so many fucking evil deeds throughout history. Listen, you don't need a history lesson. You know the script. You know why doesn't he wear a poppy. It's his choice not to do it.
And he's from Derry, and of course, you know, Bloody Sunday.
That's what I'm saying, mate. Nobody needs an education lesson for us. He's all know the script. It's all right on one hand for Mr. Penis to say that this is the way things are. People should be respected. Of course, if you want to respect people, that's fine. See, if the poppy was solely for World War II, I don't think, well, I think some people would have a problem with it, but I think the vast majority would not have a problem with it, right? It's because of what it is. It's the fucking Heir of the Hague Fund. It's to commemorise all people and all people who fought in wars, and that includes people who were civilians, innocents, women and children, in these people's areas. So I don't see the difference where if you were to be on Twitter calling somebody fucking black this or a black that or whatever, or a fucking poof or whatever kind of connotations that people want to put out, that's not accepted now. But it's all right for people to be called a Fenian, a Taig, an Irish bastard, fucking whatever, up to their knees in Fenian blood. He's all know the script. But I think it's shocking that a guy who has got such an audience can turn around and say, basically, aye, he's got a choice to do it, but it's his fault, so he deserves the criticism. That's essentially what he's saying, because he's not assimilating and being part of something that he doesn't believe in. It's down to poppy fascism. You look at everything that goes on now, it gets fucking worse. Every single year you've got people with poppies that size, you've got poppies on vans, you've got people with poppies on Christmas trees, you've got fucking poppy superheroes. That's fair enough. If you want to try and outdo yourself and totally take away the reason and the symbolism that the poppy is supposed to be. It's supposed to be for people that died in the World War. But now it's become a symbol of society that you must wear it. There was an Irish guy on the telly, I think it was fucking Graham Norton or something like that, or some kind of panel thing.
Yeah.
Where the guy was slaughtered for not wearing a poppy. And fucking what? So what? The poppy is supposed to represent the World War, where people went and fought against fascism, right? Now it's and it was supposed to have protected your right voice, your whatever. But now it's went kind of full circle. The fascists are now wearing the poppy. That's not to say everybody that wears a poppy is a fascist, but the people that are causing the issues are the fascists. They are the ones that are acting like fucking your Hitlers. You must do this, you must do that, you must wear this, or you're actively going against it. You're not going against it just because you see James McLean. He stands at the side and he puts his hand behind his back and he puts his head down and he bows. He doesn't say nothing. He maybe has a quiet bit of respect, but he still gets grief for it because he doesn't wear this symbolism. It's a fucking joke. I could go into it for so long, mate, but it's disgusting. It really is.
Yeah. Here. Very, very well said, Paddy. Very well said. And a lot of the viewers are in total alignment with you.
And by the way, can I just add as well? You get the same amount of grief if you wear a white poppy after these people, because you don't wear the red poppy. If you wear a white one, you're treated like shit. But again, the biggest issue here is the fact that you've got a man who is being racially abused on a yearly basis, and nothing gets done about it. It's the same up here as well. You look at that fucking Marvin Bartley guy. No, he's got every right to be. I think he's the ambassador for racism in Scottish football or something. And again, he's got every right to highlight these issues, people being racially abused because of the colour of their skin. But this will be the same guy that sits in Ibrox where there's 50,000 people shouting they're up to their knees and feeding you blood and doesn't say anything. Says it's a great atmosphere. Come on.
Aye. Very well said, mate. Right, okay, so the Jungle Gyms, we've not done an episode in about a week, but we've certainly been back with a bang. That's 90 minutes. And I think Dale's episode, if you're not telling you piss off and watch Dale's right now, but Dale's will be starting just now, roughly about. So I guess we can wrap up for this evening. Paddy and James, it's been an absolute pleasure. Of course, we're playing again tomorrow night. It's not on the TV, so let's pay that £15 to subscribe to Motherwell TV so we can all get to watch it.
Nope.
Nothing illegal going on at our ends. But guys, really good. And I love the comments. Hope everybody's doing well. Thanks so much for getting your comments in. Hope each and every one of you are doing well and you watch the game tomorrow. And hopefully it's another 3 points in the bag for us. James, any final thoughts, comments for yourself before we wrap it up for tonight?
Just as I said in the group chat, talking about Talk Sport, you must need to fail an exam to get in a gig at Talk Sport. It's full of absolute roasters. You've got Jermaine Pennant, Jamie O'Hara, Graham Souness, the list goes on. Jason Cundy, he's probably chief helmet. But Mona Celtic.
Indeed. Paddy, have you got your breath before you want to say good night to everyone?
I think I'll just say good night because I'm fucking ready for a rant here.
Aye. Guys, all the best. Love the comments. So have a good one tonight. And we'll see you when we're back on.
Catches.
See you.